From the CBS Bay Area studios, this is KPIX 5 News.
Welcome back. It is just about 6:30. Good morning. I'm Devin, Fehely.
And I'm Julie Watts, and we'll get started this half hour with a check of your forecast. We've got the first dry weekend we've had in about a month. And we're starting off a little chilly this morning because we have mostly clear skies. High-def Doppler shows no rain on the radar just yet, but we do have some on the way by the end of the weekend. Mostly clear and cold to start, mainly dry this weekend. A few drops possible by the end of the weekend in the North Bay, but the rain moves in really on Monday. Today,
searchers are expected to resume a recovery operation for a woman missing after a cliff collapse in San Francisco. The slide happened yesterday afternoon on a cliff at Fort Feinstein, part of the Golden Gate National Recreation Area. Specially trained dogs helped the search effort yesterday, but crews weren't able to find that missing woman. Now, rescuers were able to save another woman from that slide. She is expected to recover from her injuries. According to the fire department, witnesses say the two women were walking a dog at the base of that cliff when it gave way. The San Francisco Fire Department says that so much time has passed that it's unlikely the missing woman will be found alive.
And the likelihood that this individual has a chance of survival after 3 hours under this is very unlikely, unfortunately.
U.S. Park Police and the Golden Gate National Recreation Area have taken over the recovery effort. It appears that a combination of factors led to that slide. The slide has a cause that is easily traceable for Dr. Roland Bergman, a landslide expert at UC Berkeley.
When we have these big rainstorms, they saturate the ground and that weakens the soils and rocks. And clearly what happened today was directly in response to this rainfall.
Dr. Bergman says that limiting access to the beach while the cliffside stabilized would be a good idea.
Well, one student is in custody, another is hospitalized after a stabbing at a high school in Union City. It happened yesterday morning at James Logan High. Students told KPIX 5 the stabbing happened in a hallway and the suspect is a freshman at James Logan. The school was on lockdown for about 2 hours after the stabbing.
It's a big school, like 4,000 students or so, and it takes a long time to check the school, to check the areas where someone could be hiding, and make sure everyone's safe.
I think it is a common problem, but you didn't have to pull out a knife. You could have just, I don't know. I wouldn't pull out a knife if I was in that situation.
Now, some students say the suspect didn't get along with the victim or the victim's friends. Officers eventually arrested the suspect in Hayward. The victim had surgery and is expected to recover.
We are starting the weekend now with Oakland teachers still on strike and no end in sight to that strike. KPIX 5's Andrea Nakano has the latest on what they want and what the district is now offering.
As day turned to night in Oakland, negotiators sat at the bargaining table looking for a compromise to get the teachers back into the classroom. Earlier in the day,
we support Oakland students! We support!
A vocal group of teachers, parents, and students picketed outside Roots International Academy, a school slated to shut its doors. Students just want to repay what their teachers do for them in the classroom.
They have been supporting my education so that I can have a better life, so I can succeed in life.
Here are the demands at the top of the teachers' wish list: a 12% raise over the next 3 years, a reduction in class size by 2 students per class, and new today, to reverse school closures such as Root Academy. The Oakland Unified District is now offering a 7% raise with a 1.5% one-time bonus, but it flat out refuses to address school closures.
No, school closures is not part of the negotiations at the table.
Roughly 3,000 teachers have walked off the job in the first multi-day strike by Oakland teachers since 1996, and they seem to have tremendous support from the community. A long list of Oakland restaurants are even offering discounted meals to teachers like Farley's East.
I feel like, as an educator, I know what it takes to go into a classroom, to motivate students, to make them the people we want them to be, because they're our future. So if you don't invest in your teachers, you're not investing in the future.
Teachers say they have braced themselves for a long fight to make sure their demands are met to help them better educate the kids.
We all know what's on the line here, what's at stake, and we know how much it's going to take and how long it might take to get to the place that we need to get for our young people.
Andrea Nakano, KPIX 5.
The union president hopes that both sides will be back at the table this weekend, but they are prepared to be back out picketing on Monday. Now, we are expected to get another update from union leaders tomorrow night. Oakland has long had trouble retaining teachers who often take on informal roles as counselors and psychologists in addition to their teaching responsibilities. One report says about 70% leave Oakland Unified within 5 years. Educators say that students can't trust and build relationships with teachers because of that revolving door.
Well, PG&E is scrapping a plan to give its employees millions of dollars in performance bonuses. The utility had the green light from a bankruptcy judge to pay a total of $130 million to 14,000 workers. But now the interim CEO says the payments are, quote, not the right thing to do. He's citing the impact from multiple wildfires linked to PG&E. State investigators found the utility responsible for some fires back in 2017, and they are still investigating whether its equipment sparked the devastating Camp Fire last November.
A sudden end to a Southern California case involving a, quote, house of horrors. A couple admitted to starving and torturing their 13 children.
How do you plead to that charge, Mr. Turpin?
Guilty.
And Mrs. Turpin?
Guilty.
David and Louise Turpin pled guilty to 14 felony counts, including torture, child abuse, and child imprisonment inside the Riverside County home. The children were rescued in January of last year after the 17-year-old daughter escaped and called for help. Officers found that they had been chained to their beds, deprived of food and hygiene for years.
This is among the worst, most aggravated child abuse cases that I have ever seen or been involved in my career as a prosecutor.
Is that your understanding?
Prosecutors say they offered the plea deal to spare the children having to testify. The Turpins are expected to be sentenced to 25 years to life in prison this April.
A judge has ordered the Trump administration to determine exactly how many children were separated from their families at the border wall. This comes after a government watchdog reported that officials might have split thousands more children from their families than they had previously disclosed. At least 2,700 children have been identified in a class action lawsuit over the president's border crackdown. Lawyers for the Trump administration say it would be extremely difficult to retrace the steps of all of the children who were separated but then released.
A high school in Clovis is banning one of its students from wearing a MAGA hat to school. The student, a high school senior and right-wing activist, has been in trouble before for wearing T-shirts that say "Build the Wall." But when she decided to wear a MAGA hat to school after a right-wing group asked its members to, the school told her that she couldn't wear it on campus, citing the dress code. A formal federal district judge says the student's First Amendment right is being stripped, but the district may have the right to do so.
The hat is something that could invoke violence or invoke controversy. Then, for the safety of the students, the school is within its legal right.
Maddie's parents support her mission, but she says her mom believes the school could prevent her from graduating. A group of young activists confronted Senator Dianne Feinstein in her Bay Area office, saying that she should support a Green New Deal that other Democrats have proposed.
We are trying to ask you to vote yes on the Green New Deal.
Please. Okay, I'll tell you what. We have our own Green New Deal.
The government is supposed to be for the people and by the people and all
You know
for the
what's
people.
interesting about this group is I've been doing this for 30 years. I know what I'm doing. You come in here and you say it has to be my way or the highway.
Now, Feinstein said that she does not respond to ultimatums. She has also pointed out that she was recently re-elected by a margin of nearly 1 million votes in California.
I know what I'm doing. So, you know, maybe people should listen a little bit.
I hear what you're saying, but we're the people who voted you. You're supposed to listen to us. That's your
How old are you?
job.
How old
I'm
are you?
16. I
Well,
can't
you didn't vote for me.
Well,
I'm voting for it. It doesn't matter. We're the ones who's going to be impacted.
The middle and high school kids are part of a group called the Sunrise Movement. Now, later they posted on Twitter that Feinstein, quote, seemed to be stuck in the past. The senator responded with this tweet. Unfortunately, this was a brief meeting, but I want the children to know that they are heard loud and clear. I have been and will remain committed to doing everything I can to enact real, meaningful climate change legislation. Now, after yesterday's encounter, Feinstein is suddenly garnering praise from pundits on the right. Two prominent conservative writers, Ben Shapiro and Eric Erickson, tweeted that they now love Feinstein.
Now, in spite of the reported dangers, e-cigarette maker Juul's revenue is expected to triple this year. Bloomberg is reporting the vaping device maker will report about $3.4 billion in profit in 2018. Juul reported last month that sales in 2018 were over $1 billion. The soaring sales come even as debate rages on over e-cigarettes and the explosion in popularity among teens. Meanwhile, people in Berkeley have been drinking a lot less sugary drinks since the city passed its soda tax. A study from UC Berkeley tracks drinking habits since the local tax went into effect 3 years ago, and it finds that residents have cut their soda consumption in half. Now, consumption in Oakland and San Francisco stayed flat during that same period, so analysts believe the drop in Berkeley is actually connected to that tax.
And it is time for us to call it a morning. Thank you for watching KPIX 5 News this morning.